I'm like, why am I so tired? It's because I haven't drank my coffee yet. Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jer and I am raw dogging it today with a coffee and a soda because apparently I want my heart to be beating in my throat. Global All-Stars is a phrase that will send shivers down most people's spines. For most fans, it is the great shame of the Drag Race universe. The franchise that brought all of these incredible performers from across the globe, seemingly to favor only the queens that RuPaul had previously interacted with. I've only watched a couple episodes of this franchise because, quite frankly, it bothered me. I could not get behind any of the buffoonery that was happening, and it felt bad to watch so many of these global contestants get kind of embarrassed. But alas and aghast, here we are. So today is a fun thought project. I wanted to show what my global casting would be, as well as the format and kind of challenges that I would include in this fantasy universe of a Global All-Stars 2. We'll be representing 12 different countries around the world. So let's get into this cast reveal, and then I will share the format as well as the episode order. Please make sure to check out my Patreon if you would like to perceive these videos before anybody else on YouTube gets a chance to. I try to upload these at least 2 to 3 days on there before, as well as on my Extravaganza Extra membership, but Patreon always gets first exclusive access before YouTube does. And it greatly benefits me as well as my channel. You can find those links below. So let's get into this cast reveal, and we will start with the US Queen, who I will cast as Naomi Smalls. I'm not sure if Naomi has much interest in performing on a global stage, but when I think about a Global All-Stars or a Versus the World, what I'm thinking about is a package that you bring to Drag Race that transcends just your culture and what you do specifically, while also being so distinctly your culture. I think Naomi has a broad sense of what US drag looks like. It's polished, it's refined, it's glamorous. The level of refinement that she tailors to everything, even just sitting on YouTube and doing a review of fashion, having those references, that's very US Drag Race now. Drag Race wants you to be up to date on all of the glam, and they want you to be able to not take it all too seriously. And Naomi is someone who is very, very funny. And she knows how to tickle the Cocomelon part of RuPaul's brain. And assuming that Ru would be judging something like this, we would want someone who'd be able to tap into that. And I think because Naomi represents both that glam as well as not taking it all too seriously, she is the perfect representation for US Drag Race. Representing Canada's Drag Race, I am choosing Ebony LaBelle from season 6. Ebony is someone who was very recently on the show, but I think is probably still hungry for the crown. Her looks she's been turning out on Instagram and on socials have been next level puss. And the thing that I love about Ebony is, much like Naomi, she just doesn't take herself that seriously. I think about that moment where she was sitting in her confessional and she was saying that the jokes were dry, thinks about it, has a half second of a process, and then says, "Kind of like your vagina," and then makes herself laugh because she just came up with this reference off the top of her head in the heat of the moment. Not to mention, I think she represents Canada's Drag Race in a beautiful and special way. Canada's Drag Race is all about acceptance and about coming as you are and presenting who you are authentically with no guards. And that is the theme from season 1 all the way to season 6. There's so much beauty and representation in Canada, and that's what Ebony brings. She's so proud of who she is, and she's not afraid to share that in any capacity. Canada also has some fantastic performers. I can think of very few misses in Canada's Drag Race when it comes to performing and lip syncing. Unlike other franchises where performing isn't always the frontier. Ebony brought a level of global excellence to her original runway package, so she is already prepared to go to a global stage and compete with people of different backgrounds, of different reference points, and be able to keep up with them. On top of the fact, again, I think that she's probably very hungry for the crown right now. Representing Drag Race Mexico, I am choosing Regina Voce. Now, the question remains for many of these queens: can they speak English? Ooh, new drag name. Question remains, can you speak English? Stupid, it's dumb, cut that. Steve, cut that. Steve, don't include that. I think Regina is hilarious, first off, and I think that she's someone who would be able to, again, tap that little part of RuPaul's brain that giggles over silliness. Ru likes Smart queens who don't take themselves too seriously. When you're too cerebral and all you are is up in your head, Rue doesn't connect with that, and we need a queen who's able to be silly and goofy. As much as I hate the "you're so dumb, we love it" type of critique, that is what Drag Race is looking for. They don't want a lot of authenticity. They just want you to be able to be dumb, and I think Regina can do that. Additionally, she can be very serious when she needs to. Her El Me Mintió lip sync in the finale is so good. She would kill a lip sync Lollapalooza. She would kill a top 2 lip sync for the crown, or a lip sync for extra badges, or whatever. Regina would give everything when it came to a lip sync. And Regina is already someone who has competed on Queen of the Universe. I think that would greatly benefit her. Because again, a big part of Global All-Stars is not just representing your culture beautifully, which I think Regina does. I think she brings this Mexican excellence to her drag. The way that she paints, the way that she acts is deeply telenovela. She has a rich, complex understanding of her culture and her identity and where she fits in that, but also how that can apply to the globe. And I think that she, of any of the Mexico 1 queens, would be able to keep up and be able to present that flawlessly. I think she understands what Drag Race wants too. Representing Drag Race UK, I have chosen Tace. Again, I'm thinking on a global scale here. Who is someone who already, their first time in, was presenting not only their background and their culture, but also global excellence. And I think that Tace was doing that. From the moment she walked in that hot Xehanort remix, avant-garde, couture, tailored coat dress that was somehow so UK streetwear, but also global runway Parisian fashion show, be able to be seen at the Met Gala, at any type of red carpet event across the world. Her personality is one that is magic on camera. She connects beyond the screen, and to be able to be a global superstar, you have to be able to connect with the audience through the lens. And I think a lot of fans of Drag Race UK and global fans have been saying for years, Tace needs to come back. Tace needs to represent the UK in some way because she's got that magic it thing. She's someone like Naomi who brings this high level of tailored glam drag, but isn't holding her nose too high at all about it. She can have this confessional where she's talking about how much she loves beans on toast while looking beautiful. And you don't often see pretty people being willing to just share something kind of average and everyday about themselves. I think that she represents not only the UK, but also has a global sensibility about the way that she packages herself. And for the structure of the type of game that I want to play in this season, I think that Tace would be someone interesting to watch for the social element. Representing Drag Race France is Cookie Cut. I very recently made a video rejudging Drag Race France Season 2. I cannot stop saying France. Steve, find a way to edit me to say France correctly. What can I say about Cookie beyond the fact that she is so Did you get the tea in that? Cookie is so freaking fierce. I'm obsessed with her, and I recently watched the Bring Back My Girls, and I know that she can speak English, so that brings joy to my heart that I can cast her in this group. Because some others, I'm not entirely sure about what their comprehension level is. Cookie is someone who I think is so French in her approach to drag. It is very high fashion, it is very Parisian runway. It's tailored and polished to the tens. Her excess couture is probably one of my favorite runway looks that I've ever seen. An element I think she brings is someone who's locked into the competition, pays attention to what that looks like, and is focused on her goal, but is willing to bring others into that excitement to win. She's not someone who is so laser focused that she'll push people out of the way. She uplifts and she cares for her sisters. She's someone who goes to bat for them when they need someone to go to bat for them, but she also will hold them accountable when they are being ridiculous, and we saw that in her season. She does not take nonsense in her direction, and I think that level of self-care and self-awareness would be beneficial in a global all-stars season. Representing Drag Race Down Under would be Hollywood Star. I very recently covered Drag Race Down Under Season 3 on my weekly podcast, which you can check out here on YouTube in my playlist tab, or you can go and look up That Sounds Gay wherever you find podcasts. And I was delighted by Hollywood. I think she genuinely was one of the only queens that could have beaten Isis Avis Loren because she brought this level of excellence to everything she did and was laser focused, was very funny. I think connected with Rue up until the great lie of 2023 about her being 28 years old when she in fact was 33. And I think because of that lie, she didn't make it to the finale, which is unfortunate. Hollywood is someone who is good at collaboration, which again is very important for a global all-stars or a global representation. She understands her personal brand extremely well. She knows where she fits in with a competition and with herself and how to apply her to everything. Even in challenges where she wasn't the strongest in, she wasn't afraid to go there. And on Drag Race, you have to commit 110%, and I think Hollywood did that every week. And I think much like Cookie, her self-awareness would be a great advantage to her in this competition. Oh, this person does not want to go back to Drag Race, but I want them to. The next person that I am casting for this season, I am positive does not want to go back to Drag Race, but I'm casting them anyway because it's my fantasy, and that's Cedergine for Drag Race Holland. Steve, find a way for me to say Holland correctly as well. I say it like Fred every single time and I can't stop myself. And no one will stop me. I love Cedergine, like so much. Like I love Cedergine. When she was in that fight with Abby OMG and she's just sitting there eating snacks and just waving to the camera as Abby is blowing up, that moment lives up here. It's pervasive. Cedergine is someone who brought an all-stars ready package her first time on Drag Race, which doesn't often happen in the earlier seasons of Drag Race. Like pre-season, I want to say 13, you did not often see all-stars ready packages your first time around. And especially for a pilot season like Drag Race Holland, which their only prize was an ugly dress. What the hell was up with that dress? That was awful. I've heard many times that Cedergine does not want to go back to Drag Race in any capacity, so I think more realistically it would be Chelsea Boy, but in this universe where I get to cast this, it's going to be Cedergine. Drag Race Holland is all about this melting pot in a way that the US kind of touts itself to be, but is really more about, on the Drag Race scene, about polish, where Holland is really about celebrating where you come from and how you got there, kind of like a Canada's Drag Race, where they want to see all of these complexities to who you are and what your reference points are and celebrate that in the best way that they can. Because you see avant-garde queens get their flowers, you see camp queens get their flowers, you see serious performers get their flowers. They do their best to make everyone feel included in that conversation, which I think is really beautiful about that franchise, and I miss it a lot actually. I would love to see it come back with Envy and Vanessa hosting it and maybe duoing like Lolita and Valentina did. That would be sick. And I think Cedergine's drag and what she presents is so applicable to everything that US Drag Race is currently looking for. Like if you took Cedergine season 1, plucked her out of that timeline and dropped her into like Idaho or something, and that's where she was from, and she was representing Idaho fiercely, went to Drag Race, she would sweep all the way to the end because she was so polished, so locked in, and so down to clown. And I think more than anybody in Drag Race Holland, I think that she is someone who is able to compete on a global level. Representing Drag Race España is someone who I think speaks English. I can't tell if Instagram is auto-translating or if she's actually typing them in English. That would be Nyx. In this casting, I want someone who's an underdog player, someone who's not an obvious winner, but someone who has star quality in buckets, someone who understands who they are in the world of drag, who they are in the world of Drag Race, and commits to that. Nyx is another beautiful trans woman, and I love that she made the finale because she had this adore energy about her in Drag Race España season 5. This character that was on the show that wasn't completely sure of themselves at the beginning, had a couple stumbles, but when they got it right, it was perfect. They had great social elements in the room because they're so lovable and so kind and caring and generous to those in the room. Her Spanish playing cards is one of my favorite looks of her entire season, along with her Moschino recreation, which was also beautiful. Nyx is not someone who's an obvious winner, and that's what I want in this season, is queens that are really good and made it far, if not to the end, but you wouldn't look at them and think, oh, that's the Alyssa of this season. They're very clearly here to win, and they're going to push them to the end. I think she'd be a surprising wild card. I also think that she builds interesting social dynamics, and I think with her first time around on Drag Race being kind of rocky with contestants like Crystal Forever, I think she would have a little more awareness of how to navigate those situations on the camera and would be much more adept at being able to express herself and deal with those social dynamics that I'm sure would crop up on a Global All-Stars, especially with the format that I want to make. Representing Drag Race Thailand, a queen that I bring up every single time I do these global recreations, Vanda Miss Joachim. If Vanda did not want to do it, my alternate would be Jeannie. I know that it's hard for the Thailand 1 and 2 queens to be able to get on the new contracts because they can't force them to participate, where people that are on the new WoW contracts, I think they are obligated on some level to return if they're asked, or it's easier to lock them in. Anyways, I digress. Vanda is someone who represents a lot of rich culture, and she talked about that quite frequently in her time on Drag Race Thailand Season 2. Her drag is distinctly Singaporean, and she talked about that on her time on the show. But it's been so long since she's been on Drag Race. I would love to see how she would navigate a modern format where the emphasis is more on improv, it is more on acting, it is on presentation, it's on how much personality you bring. And I think that Vanda is someone who kind of is a low-key extrovert. She's so entertaining and she's so connective and emotive while also finding ways to not wrinkle her face when she talks. And her ability to perform would gag the judges. I think that Vanda is probably one of the strongest performers in the Drag Race universe. If I could pick like 10 queens to just lip sync SmackDown for my own amusement, Vanda would be in the top 10. Easily. I think her runways would probably be a little more low-key than everybody else, but I think that's okay. She is someone who, like Nyx, is not someone I would assume is going to be the winner. And I think that's okay. Having more underdog players is important in a soup like this, so that there's people that are going to surprise us, and I think that Vanda would be that surprise element. Representing Drag Race Belgique, a queen that I am obsessed with, Peach. That sword dance is still everything. I don't want to hear a word about it. I ain't even gonna lie, when Peach was eliminated, I took days off of Drag Race because I was so bummed. And it was recorded years ago. And this was also for my Drag Race podcast, which you can check out here on YouTube in the playlist tab or wherever you find podcasts under That Sounds Gay. I love Peach. I think that this string of contestants are all underdog players. Peach is someone who is so freaking funny. She had this line in her acting challenge where she said she's Jessica with 2 T's. Who thinks of that? She's kind of twisted in the way that she presents her drag and the way that she connects on Drag Race, and I think that's exactly what you need in a format like this. You kind of need to be a little dark-sided and twisted in how you package yourself. I think she represents Belgium fiercely. I think she brings a strong sense of her own background, while again, much like these other contestants, knows exactly who she is, and she's not afraid to share that. Her sword dance, as silly and goofy as that was, is authentically her, and she did it without being bothered on how it would be perceived. She just did it fiercely. And confidence is so key on Drag Race, and Peach always had that. I think she brings an element of light and positivity that would be so needed on a season like this, especially coming off the heels of season 1 of Global, which was so poorly received. We need a light in that room that can brighten up the energy. Representing Drag Race Philippines is Turing. Now, I did partially consider choosing Ovi because I think having an Ookie Spooky queen on this season would be fun. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought it would be such a miss to not have Turing as the ultimate wild card in this group. Turing went home like 4th in her lineup. But unlike other 4th outs that I would normally be upset that, oh my god, they are such an early out and they're competing against finalists, that's so unfair. Turing, I think, could legitimately beat anybody on Drag Race in a lip sync for your life, in a lip sync for your legacy, in just about any challenge except sewing. And if I play my cards right in the way that I set this up, I can rig it for her to go to the finale. I think the Drag Race Philippines queens are on another level. They are not to be messed with, and they are always locked in and ready to go. Turing's I'm feeling good, feeling sexy tonight lip sync lives in my brain. Her boom Turing line in Papa Fate is probably one of the most iconic of the girl groups globally. And I love that she is someone who is just so authentically herself on Drag Race. She was not playing any kind of games without thinking, I have to present myself this way, I have to present myself that way, I have to come across this kind of way on the camera. She wasn't afraid to be naturally herself on Drag Race, and that lack of barrier is always beneficial for us as an audience to root for them more. The Drag Race Philippines culture, in my opinion, is all about resilience. It's all about not letting the critiques hold you down. We see these queens from Drag Race Philippines who get knocked down their first time around. They come back, they're stronger than they were before, and they show that that one thing that didn't let them win is not going to hold them back from giving it their all. And I think she represents what Drag Race Philippines is and would be able to plug into a global scale. And then last up, representing Drag Race Italia, I'm going to be so messy here and I'm going to pick a Norma Jean. Initially I was going to choose Divinity, but I don't know if Divinity can speak enough English. She would be my backup. I don't know if Norma would ever come back and do US Drag Race, but what I want on this cast is someone who is known for stirring things up. Much like what I think Melinda was cast on Drag Race UK versus the World Season 3 for. She was someone who was known for her iconic moment in Season 4, and she came back zen and was grown and chill from that, and wasn't about to be messy on Drag Race. I think Norma needs some redemption from having to be embarrassed in Drag Race Italia. She was someone who had such a strong storyline in Drag Race Italia, talking about her positive status and trying to destigmatize that, sharing how that plugs into her as a drag queen and how her background with her family has affected how she presents herself and how she cares so deeply and immensely for those around her. She had her bad moment where she blew up and said, "You, producers, you put me on this show with a bunch of idiots." But I genuinely feel like Drag Race Italia Season 1 was a hostile work environment, so I don't blame her for blowing up. I don't know if y'all can hear that sound, but that's awful. And I think her sensibility as a drag queen would apply so well to a global format. I wonder too, much like some of the other queens I've talked about in the last string, as an underdog player, someone who did not make it to the end, who had to do the one and only lip sync for, what did they call it? A lip sync for your salvation or something. I think she deserves a redemptive moment from that. And I think it would be cool to see her again in modern Drag Race with a brand new format, because Drag Race Italia was quick. They packed in so much in very little time. And I think that it would be interesting to see what she would do here. So let's get into the format really quickly. So this is going to be a half non-elim season. So the first 6 episodes will be non-elimination top 2. The top 2 queens of the week will receive Rue badges and will then lip sync for their legacy for another badge. That badge will then be used by them to give to any queen in the competition. They can either give it to the other top 2 performer, or they can give it to someone else who was not in the top that week. So this season is going to rely heavily on the social game. Rather than using the Scissor Sisters or whatever to prevent someone from getting badges, it will reward their relationships to be kind and play well with each other. At least for the first half, because it's going to be establishing and kind of forcing some social dynamics to start playing out in the latter half. Episodes 7 and 8 will be Rated Queen talent shows, where there will be a top queen from each group and a bottom queen from each group. In episode 8, one will start to go home every week after that. And again, playing off the social game, from episode 9 forward, there will be a top 2 that will both get badges. The winner of the lip sync gets a badge and a lipstick, and they'll have to eliminate someone from bottom 3. I know that sounded a little confusing. Hopefully it made sense. The amount of badges at the end of the competition will determine the order for the lip sync for the crown. So the contestants with the top 2 badges will lip sync against each other, and the bottom 2 badges will lip sync against each other. It is all for the drama. So let's get into these challenges. Episode 1 will be a outfit remix, similar to what they did in Drag Race UK versus the World Season 3, where they will bring something archival that they already wore on Drag Race, and here's the twist. They will choose who they want to give their outfit to in the room. Because I want this game to focus heavily on those dynamics in the room. I want it to start out with a bang. You are all in this together, and how you play this game will determine who goes to the end and how you support each other. Episode 2 will riff off of the Miss Shutaka pageant of Drag Race Philippines. So they will not only present 2 looks, but there'll also be a mini performance and then a Q&A. And as a reminder, these challenges are lip sync for badges. Whoever wins gets to give a badge to a friend. Episode 3, much like what they did in Drag Race Belgique and Drag Race Italia, is a product challenge. So they will have to get into groups of 3 and pitch something. But it's not strictly personal branding. It's more about the improv and how they sell themselves and their product. Episode 4 is yet another group challenge, and it will be girl groups. There's a lot of queens here, so they'll have to be broken up into groups of 4, 8, 12, 3 girl groups. And I want these to be pussy pops of songs. Like, I cannot have these be weak sauce numbers. They gotta be it.
Episode 5
is a acting challenge. I would love to see something like Murder on the Dance Floor. And then episode 6 is a lip sync Lollapalooza, where I fully guarantee it would be Vanda and Turing at the very end. Guaranteed. And I would love to see that. Now is the portion of the competition where social game gets the heaviest. Much like in season 18, I really loved the mid-season Rata Queen. I think it takes all of these relationships that have been building up this entire time and forces you to take a hard look at that and see how you want to play the game. Who have you bonded with and you want to preserve? Who have you not bonded with and you don't really care if they're going to be in the room the next day or not? And after all of these badges have been exchanged and people have been finding their friends in the room, having to then rate each other will heavily draw out all of that storyline. So it's a little bit of forced story, but reality TV's got to do that sometimes. Episode 7 will feature 6 queens in whatever order they would like to go in, and then episode 8 will feature 6 queens in whatever order they want to go in. Both groups will rate each other for a singular top placement and a singular bottom spot. They'll still do the entire rate, all 6 of them, but whoever's in those positions will have to lip sync the following week. There will be none of this, a top 2 lip sync here and then a top 2 lip sync there. It'll be 1 and 1. And so in episode 8, top 2 lip sync, 4 badges, and then the bottom 2 will lip sync to go home. Episode 9 is where lipstick polls will begin. So this will be the Snatch game, but it'll be in the Slasian Royale style. Because I think what is kind of difficult about any of the global all-stars is that when you get into Snatch game, everyone's humor references are going to be different. Their points of view are not going to be clicking necessarily. And it's hard to riff off of each other in any Snatch game, but especially when you don't have the same cultural viewpoint as each other. And I think the way that Slasian navigated that was really beautiful. So each one of them will have to present their character in a short form type of video. So there will be a top 2, they lip sync for badges, as well as the lipstick pull, and they get to determine who's gonna go home from the bottom 3. And that will be the format until the finale. Episode 10 will be a duo improv challenge, which I always go back and forth on, but I think they're compulsory for Drag Race in the modern era, and I think this would be a great opportunity for certain queens to shine that haven't had an opportunity to do so. I know it does suck to have back-to-back comedy challenges, but this one is more about who you are, where the one previous is more about how you can brand yourself through a character. Episode 11 is finally a design challenge. It'll be unconventional materials. I would love to see what Canada's Drag Race has done a couple times, where they do paper, plastic, and metal. Episode 12 is the official branding challenge, so it'll be the perfume challenge from season 5, and also in France 1. I love the perfume challenge, and I think it's a great vehicle for showcasing who you are and how you can sell yourself and what your product is. Episode 13 will be the Makeover Challenge, the most inconsistently judged across all franchises, but it's gotta exist. It would be cool to bring in their loved ones, but that could be very expensive. I would love to see a twist on what they did in Drag Race Philippines Season 2, where they bring older gays into the room. I think that would be a good opportunity to share some cultural stories that may be forgotten by some of the youth of queer culture. And then episode 14 is the finale MV. Theoretically, at this point, there'd be 6 queens. There will be no surprise bonus badges because I always think that's a little unfair. There will be a top 2 of the music video that will then receive badges and have to lip sync for 1 more. Whoever has the most amount of badges will get to progress to the last segment of the show.
That'll be 1 + 1 + 2 + 1.
So the bottom 2 queens will immediately get cut. And then the top 4 queens, based on how many badges they have, will be ordered to lip sync against each other, with a top 2 lip sync for the crown. From this entire group, I would expect that Naomi and Ebony and Vanda, maybe even Turing, would make it to the very end. Alternatively, I could also see Hollywood being up there, but this would be an exciting season in my opinion to watch. I think this would be a really cool twist on the global aspect, and being able to merge some of these concepts of All-Stars 10 and 11, where the queens get a good amount of time on camera to show what they can do, to earn some grounding in the competition before people start going home, and also heavily play on all of those dynamics that we love to see from the classic All-Stars, of them making bold decisions. I think it also mitigates some of those problems that the global All-Stars generally have, where I as an audience member think, well, it's episode 1, they don't even know each other. How are they going to eliminate somebody in the cast or save someone from the bottom when they don't even know them? They may have never worked with them before, they may have never seen their season, but now they have to make this snap judgment to eliminate someone just because they're in the same competition. They don't know what they can bring. They don't know if they flubbed a challenge, if they didn't have the skill set to do that challenge. There are so many different factors that go into the versus the worlds that I think sometimes can be a little detrimental to the progress of some of these contestants. So I think it mitigates all of those problems. And later, with Snatch Game being one that you can completely determine the pace and the comedy on your own, that is entirely contingent on how you choose to present yourself, similar to how it was in Slasian. And the Duo Comedy Challenge allows you to rely on a partner who can help guide you through that process in the same way that we saw in UK vs. the World Season 3. And so I think it takes some of the best elements of what I like about the global format and brings that down to a place that I think would be special to watch, that would be kind and considerate to a cast of people who don't come from the same place. And I think it would showcase what they all can do in the unique format of Drag Race All-Stars. Let me know who you would want to see on a Global All-Stars if they ever did another one. Again, be sure to check out the Patreon if you would like to support my page in a different way, and I will see y'all on the flip.